real quick before this video starts, I just want to say that if you guys want to help me out in any way to be able to purchase new tanks that come into the store, like the VK9001P, that will probably be an upcoming Tier 10 Premium. As you guys do know, I'm not sponsored or given any tanks for free, as I'm not a contributor for World of Tanks Blitz, so therefore I have to spend with my own money on the game. So if you guys want me to be able to make new videos constantly on the new tanks of the game, please make sure to hit me up on Patreon. It's like as cheap as $1 a month to even $20 a month if you want to be the most generous person in the world. But yeah, if you guys do want to help me out, that'd be greatly appreciated, and I really would thank you guys so much for all the love and support you've given me, and I'll get straight into the video.
Hello there, World Tankers. Welcome back to my videos. I am Blitz, and today I'm going to be talking about the IS-3 Defender, which is a Tier 8 Russian Heavy Premium. Now, this tank is just hit the stores today. Well, actually, not just, but it hit the stores a couple hours ago today for 15,000 gold, which is quite expensive. However, as always, I'm going to talk about the tank, how to run it, where to run it, and whether or not it's worth the price tag. Now, one of the things about the IS-3 Defender is that it's quite an old tank, and for them to be asking 15,000 gold for such an old tank must mean it's overpowered, right? Not really. I have to say it's not super overpowered, and I have to agree with Meadsy on his video where he pretty much said this tank got outdated as time went on and on, because as you know, tanks keep getting buffed and they get more penetration. The Tiger 2 just got a huge penetration buff, it's getting more armor, and what that means is the IS-3 Defender used to be a really broken, overpowered tank. You know, it used to be able to pretty much survive 90% of games. It was able to push on you, you couldn't do anything about it. But that was because at the time of the game that the tank came out, it was up against an IS-6 or a KV-5 that literally could not penetrate it with their standard rounds. And this tank had more gun depression than them. This tank had, you know, a better gun, it had more accuracy, it had a lot of better characteristics. But the issue is now all of those tanks can penetrate the IS-5. And I'm going to show a little clip of the armor just so you can see what it looks like from the front. And it's not really that impressive. When aiming dead on at the tank, the front's only sitting at around 185 millimeters. Now you can see those two red spots on the front. Those are tracks. If I can get them, you can see that there are tracks on the front of the tank. Now those tracks are sitting around 222 millimeters thick, as you can see, but that's still not ridiculously thick. That means that pretty much any tier, 8 premium, like a Russian IS, will be able to penetrate the front of this tank easily. And if you try and angle it just a little bit, it's going to make that front plane even weaker on one of the sides. And that is one of the issues with the pike nose design. And since this tank is the old model of the IS-3, it has worse armor. As you know, that the IS-3 recently, or not recently, but about a year and a half ago, it got a model change, which made the front plate a little bit steeper angled and harder to penetrate. But since the IS-3 Defender is based off of the original IS-3, it has worse upper plate armor. Now the lower plate is pretty good, it's sitting at around 180, but as I said before, the upper plate's 180, so it's not super spectacular. Now the turret is excellent. The turret is pretty much like a simple Russian tank, sitting at 300, 270 millimeters thick. You're really not going to be able to get through that unless you're a Tier 9 tank destroyer or like an RHM. And even the sides of the turret are still pretty thick at like 150, 160, so you're not going to have to worry about the penetration on the turret getting through to you. And this tank also has one really cool aspect about it, which is 7 degrees of gun depression. Now, if you're not aware, 7 degrees of gun depression is the most gun depression on any Russian Tier 8 heavy tank, I'm pretty sure, in the game other than the KV-5, which is super impressive judging that this tank has excellent turret armor. And not to mention, this tank has very good top speed of around 40 kilometers per hour, and it's got a nice power-to-weight ratio, so it's absolutely able to get into the battlefield position very quickly. Now, one of the things I'm not a huge fan of on the pike nose design is, especially on like the IS-3 Defender, since the armor isn't spectacular on the front plate, is when you try to side scrape and you back this tank up, it makes that pike nose stick out, and you have to reveal your pike nose before you can get your gun aimed at them, which means they can shoot you, and then you have to pull out and it takes you longer to shoot them, therefore making your clip reload longer overall. So that is one thing I'm not a huge fan of with this tank. However, it does have excellent side armor, and it's a very troll tank on the sides. You know, you can be running an ISU or an RHM and just get the funkiest bounces off the side of this tank. And that is one of the really cool things about it. Um, and I really do like the tank. It's not a bad tank at all. However, now I'm going to talk about one of the major flaws. Now, if you're not aware and you're new to this game, this tank is an autoloader. If you've pushed on this thing and you're like, what the heck, I just shot, and it's out reloading me even though it shot after I shot him, and we're running the same, 120 millimeter. Well, that's because this tank has an autoloader, and it takes 7.5 seconds for 2 of the shells to come out, and then it reloads the whole clip in 23 seconds, which is a really, really long clip reload. Now, the main weakness of this tank is really that clip, because, you may say, well, it makes it overpowered, but it also doesn't, because the accuracy on this tank is awful. I'd have to rate it the worst accuracy pretty much out of all the Russian heavies, which means that when you're running this tank and you're pushing on somebody like this IS-3 Bear or this Ferdinand, and you bounce one of your shells, that means you're losing 1/3 of all of your potential damage in that clip, and that means that that IS-3 Bear can now pretty much shoot you back, and he's only going to lose an extra 800 damage. You can see he missed that shot on that T-28 Defender. Now he's down a shell, and the T-28 Defender penned him. Which means that now this T-28 Defender, if it was a normal tank, would just wait for his clip to reload and pull back out. I mean, not his clip, but his normal shell, pull back out and snap the IS-3 Defender again, pretty much rendering the Defender's clip useless. And that is one thing to keep in mind. Not to mention, and this is a good tip for taking out the Defender, is if you see a Defender pushing on you, and let's say you're in an M6 Experimental. Now, once that Defender pushes on you, pretty much what I'd say you do is if he shoots off his clip and you're still alive, because you should be able to survive it, he's only going to take off around, 1,200 hit points. Now he's screwed, because what's going to happen is that he has to wait 23 seconds to be able to fire one shell at you, which means you're going to be able to fire pretty much 2 shells into him while he's reloading his clip. Not to mention when he shoots his 2 shells with his clip on you when he's aiming at you, you're still going to be able to fire another shell at him. And when he originally pushes on you, you're going to be able to fire 1 shell there. Which means that, statistically, if you were smart and you pushed on him as he's reloading his clip, you're going to be able to shoot 4 shells into him, and he's only going to be able to get 3 out into you, and probably only penetrate, 2 out of 3 of them. Which means, really, if you're able to penetrate your shells effectively, you will easily take out, the IS-3 Defender. And that is one simple trick that I usually do to take them out, is once they think that they're in an overpowered tank. Some players might watch on Blitz old videos, seeing that it's an overpowered tank, saying, oh, it's super overpowered or something like that, and they get the wrong idea. What ends up happening is they will run the tank so overpowered and say, I'm invincible, until they run out of shells and they have an absolutely detrimental long reload that's just going to murder them as people push on the IS-3 Defender. So the IS-3 Defender is a very tricky tank to run. If you don't understand where to run it and how to run it, it's definitely a tough tank to run. Now, one of the good things I do like to do in this tank is actually reverse side scrape it. Unfortunately, I don't have a great example of it, and this replay was actually sent in by Fear Look at My Premiums. It's really nice that you actually did send this replay in, so I hope you are watching this video. I didn't even ask him, and he just sent this to me. So, perfect timing, but you can see he got a mastery, 4,200 damage. But, again, it's 15,000 gold. That's the only issue with my review on this tank, is just the gold price. And that's why I'm pretty much saying just don't buy the tank. I feel if it was 12,500 or 10,000, I'd say, you know what, go pick it up. It's a fun tank, it's unique, it's got its own characteristics up its sleeve. But the issue is that this tank is just way too overpriced. And in my opinion, tomorrow, of course, I'm going to be releasing the T-28 Defender video. And I'm going to give you a little spoiler. I like the T-28 Defender way better than the IS-3 Defender. It's got more relative armor, it's got better gun depression, it has more accuracy, it has a better gun. Overall, I think the T-28 Defender pretty much outclasses the IS-3 Defender in every way. So definitely stay tuned to watch my review on that tank and see whether it's still worth that 15,000 gold price tag. But for this tank, I would suggest hold your money off, and that's why I wanted to make this video before the T-28 Defenders, because I feel like I want to save you guys your money before you do make your mind on both of these tanks. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you have any questions or anything down in the comments, please let me know. And if you want to know my equipment loadout, if you did buy the tank, I'll show you it real quick. I'll go bring it up just because I know a lot of you guys do ask me for that. And I usually forget to show you. So this is my equipment loadout if you do want to put this on. I always want to calibrate it, as you know, especially on my autoloaders because, you know, improved ventilation, it barely buffs all of the stats, and I'd rather just be able to get that heat pen that goes up 27. 27 penetration is a huge amount, so make sure you put that on. As well, you got to put on the enhanced gun lane drive and vertical stabs because the aiming time on this tank is so awful. It just makes you want to melt your own face off as you're trying to aim at the enemy. So make sure if you do buy that tank or you do own it currently, make sure to put on the aiming time and the calibrated shells. The other equipment are up to you. Now, the last thing I'm going to say, and this is why I'm saying especially don't buy this tank, is as most of you guys know, and some of you new guys, if you don't, the Blitz fair will be coming to Blitz in December, which isn't too far away. It's only a couple months. And the Blitz fair will have the IS-3 Defender, it will have the T-28 Defender, it will probably have the Object 252U, it'll have the WZ-120, it'll have the Helsing, it'll have every single premium you can think of, and it'll probably be 25%, 30% cheaper than the tanks are in the store currently. You'll probably be able to buy all the tier 10 premiums. You'll probably be able to get the Badger in that event. So make sure that, if to be honest, you could just save your money till the Blitz fair and get $300 worth of tanks for only $100. So definitely wait until the Blitz fair. However, I am going to be making the T-28 Defender video, so make sure you keep an eye for that. I really hope you guys did enjoy this. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. If you didn't like this video, make sure to smash that downvote button and let me know why in the comments down below. As always, see you in the next one.